I'm going to disengage from the stand because it gives more flexibility. So for the past 20 years, I have studied human happiness, positive psychology, the science of well-being, or what makes life most worth living. And this fascinates me as just a person and then as a clinician. So I wanted to take you through a very small exercise, a postprandial playtime, if you will. If you could take a minute, if you're willing, to close your eyes and imagine what happiness or joy, and I'm going to get into the subtle differences of that later, but let's say joy, what joy looks like to you. Just take a snapshot in your mind's eye of some event, person, place, thing, activity that brings you joy. Hold that in your photo file and ask yourself, what does joy taste like? And we all know what joy tastes like. We all have that thing, that food. Now, in your mind's eye, take a snapshot of what joy sounds like. Maybe it's that phenomenal piece of music or the sound of rain. We all know what it is to ourselves. And now in your mind's eye, take another snapshot. What does joy feel like? What is the sensation you feel when you are circled in joy? And lastly, the last sensation, what does joy smell like? What you've just done for yourself is given yourself micro doses of joy. And one of a powerful positive psychology intervention for the moments when we are not doing well is to recall positive memory and emotion. So put that in your pocket for later. Hold on to that snapshot book, and maybe you'll feel like sharing some of it as we move on through the presentation. So let's talk a little bit about sovereignty of mind and joy in dark times. The one thing that can never be extinguished is the sovereignty up here. So I encourage you, when you look at joy and how you manifest it or celebrate it in dark times, that you look to your mind and your body and your spirit to help you keep that pilot light ignited. I want to introduce our presenter. I'm pretty excited about this and what she's going to talk about. Okay. Robing Wang is a professor of philosophy and director of Asia-Pacific Studies at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. Robin's teaching and research focuses on Chinese and comparative philosophy. Niobe Wei, who is also one of our discussants, is a professor of developmental psychology at NYU and a board member of the Hannah Arendt Center. Her work focuses on the intersection of culture, context, and human development. Both are published authors. The program features their full and very impressive biographies. Before Robin presents Amor Mundi and Joy as Flowing Proximity, I want to also mention the sage advice of the accidental soccer coach, Ted Lasso, who was played by Jason Sudeikis. He talks to his players and reminds them to be a goldfish because they are the happiest animal on earth. They do not dwell on the past, they do not dwell on the future, they are fully present.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. You have this wonderful introduction. So, good afternoon. So you have enough joy, or you have a total treatment of joy, right? So joy is a universal and a timeless topic. It through all across all human history, and it's a very, very profound with a human experience. So today, I'm going to talk about bringing a different way, maybe a different thinking models and also paradigm to think about the joy. This is from Daoist classics, Zhuangzi, who lived in 200 BC, and there is very interesting text called The Joy of Fish. So this is because Zhuangzi lived through the dark time, the age of political chaos, loss, uncertainty. But he also very, very poor. But however, he returned again to the joy. But what is this joy? This joy is not a denial, but it's atonement and a recognition that life continues to flow even among the chaos. So let's start with the joy of a fish. Everyone probably know this stories. Basically, Zhuangzi and his friend Hui Shi walk into the river. So Zhuangzi make a statement. See how the minerals start about this is the joy of a fish. And Hui Shi is Zhuangzi's conversational partner, and challenges Zhuangzi. You are not a fish. How do you know what a fish enjoy? Zhuangzi respond, you are not me. How do you know that I do not know what a fish enjoy? Hui Shi replies, I'm not you, so I certainly do not know what you know, but since you are not a fish, it follows that you do not know what fish enjoy. So Zhuangzi laughed and conclude, okay, let's go back to the beginning. You asked me how I knew the fish were happy, which means you already assumed that I know it when you asked. So Zhuangzi conclude, I know from here stand on the bridge. So this is a short stories how this related to the joy. What is all about? Basically this story is about the human's ability to gain any knowledge. So, but I'm going to particularly look at the idea of the joy. Okay, so in the joy, I actually want to make two statements or two claims. One is joy is relational resonance. Secondly, joy is here and now. Now, first of all, we will think about Zhuangzi. What is Zhuangzi's claim? This claim is not about the private possession of facts. It's also not because Zhuangzi knows the inner psychology of fish, right? So, but what he knows about is enter into the movement that is flowing between beings, the river, the fish, the bridge, and also his partner Hui Shi. So basically, this you can see, Zhuangzi attuned oneself to a relational resonance. The fish, the flow of the river, and his own recognition that waved together in a shared vitality. So this is about a joy. Joy is a shared vitality, is vibrate to each other. So Hui's skepticism question is not irrational. It is in the make sense question because it's the rest of the assumption that joy is locked within. It's something individual conscious. It belongs to each individual and also is inaccessible across species. So this is Hui Shi's idea we're so familiar with. It is just a common habit of thinking about we isolate the joy as something interior and exclusive. But we look at this story, we think about the Zhuangzi's idea, perhaps we need to have paradigm shift. On your picture, you can see we constantly often being taught you're working with this struggle, or you're trying to get a balance between your brain and your heart, right? You're doing the rationality and the irrationality, and the reason and the emotion is constant in the fight. So then joy is within that fight. It's not about, it's not about what lies inside us, but about what passes between us. So this is what we're thinking, another human agency where it's doing ultra. When you're doing ultra, where your mind, your heart, your spirit have to be together, but also you want connecting with nature. How does the wind flows? What is your, and also, there is something else that environmentally, bond you to take certain kind of actions. It's not simply just the mind and the body struggle. It's much more and beyond. So this is, I will call this phenomena. That's experience. This is especially existential experience. Use a Chinese word called tone. It's a relational resonance. Tone is a flow connection. Tone originally means there's a 2 point, there's rows pass through. So then it's maybe very quickly to define as resonance. And so joy, it's not simply in me or in the fish, but in current that join us. So I will call this and flowing proximity. So this is the idea. Also, we can see this joy is to keep the relational field open. And very important is the past remain unblocked. Sometimes you have to talk with people. You have this called a stimulate, but not necessarily resonating because you are not connecting. So this is, we can see, it's a two-way street. It's a circular relational energy. So to know the joy of fish does not requires become the fish, nor does it mean withdraw into confine of one's own perspective. So it happening between where life resonance cross differences. Another thing, in order to reach that stage, relational resonance, or in order to have a communication channel open, unblocked, unstuck, what do we require? There's another word called rou. It's a softness, subtleness, pliancy. This is rou is some sort required us to be like water. So this we're probably going to talk about much because the water has its no fixed forms. Water comes the raindrop, ocean waves, ponds, lakes, and your own water bottles. So, but water flowing, what happens when water hits the rock going around it? Do not stop. So this is one we can see is we can think being like water, but it's not rigid, just make a judgment what is right and what is wrong. That was Hui Shi seems trying to do so. So this is this softness, openness, so allow him to move by this fish. And also you can see joy also require dispositional ability, where you're willing to listen to others, and you're willing open up, touched by neighbors' smile, friends' laughter, and the quiet companion of a small task shared with others. So this is, of course, most of you, many of you is expert on this. I'm trying to very quick to think about connecting with Hannah Arendt, the love of the world. Of course, you can see joy is not a retreat to oneself, nor as escape from fragility, but the openness to the shared world we inhabit. So this is also very quickly saying to love the world is remains the relation and participating in this fragile world and the sense of togetherness. This is Zhuangzi's joy of fish, also embodied this love, and not detached into this abstract speculations, right? But rather to think about the world is the flow, and you should flow with it. And this is our living fabric. So there is a second point I want to see. Joy is grounded presence. Because this debate, it's not who win the game, or who win the argument, who lose it. But it's not losers or winners. But it is, what we happening, we are here in this temporal space and in this bridge, and we talk about something. We talk about, we share, it's something. So clearly we think about, we are connected with, this is environment, with the people, with the natural phenomena, and it do not really need a logical proof or some sort of claim. So this is actually, we can see, it's just like a tree. Okay, being a tree, you're grounded, you have roots. Yet when your roots are strong, you can flourish. Branches can flourish. So another thing I wanted to bring up is the spirit of the rudeness, but at the same time, have this sense of being right up with this dangerous, uncertain world. This is Zhuangzi's chapter, the book of chapter 1, talk about, this is about Xiao Yao Yu, is the leisurely wandering and the vast and the distance. So basically tell the story, a giant fish become giant a bird. This is really interesting. So you cover the 360 visions, from ocean to the sky. So this is called the peng, and the peng is free. It's free. It's not because the birds can do anything want, but it's because it's not because he can escape the world, because he is with this world, but flow with it. So, but this is, we can see, but the small creatures, the cicadians and doves, laughing at him, say, hey, why you trouble so much going there? And you seem useless, and because this is something, Peng, the big birds, it's not because he has a superiority, but simply because he has this experience. He able to harnessing the power of heaven and the earth, using that power and also collective energy and flying high. So we were thinking about, this is not about force, but rather yielding softly to connecting and the wing, and also want to collecting energy from all different sources. So being like a peng, like big birds in dark times. So soaring is not ignore or disconnect with world's heaviness, but by letting oneself be lifted within it by the currents of friendship, neighborly care, and a small act together that gives life a resilience and a resistance. So this is, we were thinking about joy is not manufactured. It is also discovered, it is very discovered, or it's actually you're doing it, you're flowing, you're softening it, and into relationship, and so allow the world to carry us. So this is the way I wanted to explain this. Maybe we can do thinking about this, the relational residence, and also we can thinking about this presence here now, this spatial and the temporal space we are occupying, we are being in it. I call it as a flowing proximity. So this is very interesting. So what do we think about this proximity then? Because technology appear to be connect us in the way through our AI or through our phones. Basically, the world in your palm of your hand. Whenever you want something, you can order it. Or think about before, if you go to the music, you like some singers, and you have to buy the tickets and go in the concert, that's it. But now you can listen 24 hours. There is a sense of nearness. But it's this nearness is, we want to see, should we be critical about this nearness? Actually, to isolate us, probably we need a break. We need a distance from it. Because this is the way we're navigating this temporal and the spatial space. So this is to be beyond that. I want to see suppleness allow the relationship, and the strengths provide the rootness. Together they allow endurance. And this dark time with joy and grace. I know I'm going to have more questions, and this two strong lady going to pose me, challenging my view. So I'm just quickly give this introduction, and I'm looking forward for their question, and of course, audience. I just couldn't wait for you to ask me a question. Thank you.
Okay, do you notice that she just did she's waiting for us to challenge her? That's the right or wrong. She just contradicted herself. I'm going to flow with her. So, when Bill T. Jones, by the way, I don't know if anyone knows modern dance in this room, but he's iconic. Within the modern dance world, he's like Beethoven in classical music. He's iconic, and it was gorgeous what he did today. But when he threw the apple and someone caught it, that's what she's talking about. The space between, the concentration, the presence of throwing the apple, right? Did you see the people's face when they threw the apple? And then when you catch it, you're very centered, you're very present. That's what she's talking about, that space in between that creates the relational resonance. And I wanted to bring in Bill T. Jones because I was raised by a feminist mom, woohoo! And she's a modern dance choreographer. And she's collaborated with Bill T. Jones, and I was raised with Bill T. Jones. He knew me since I was a little girl. And what I heard my whole life as a young girl growing up in its own dark times of the 70s and 80s, which are pretty dark for girls and women, is that you have to, as a modern dance choreographer, you have to put your weight down. You have to get your weight down. So ballet, is anyone a dancer in the room? So when you do ballet, right, you're lifting your weight up, right? When you do modern dance, you're down on the ground. You're grounded in the ground. And so modern dance is always about being very grounded and present. And did you see how he walked around the stage? He's walking in a way that's right, it's very in his body. It's in his body. And that, in some ways, is what relational resonance is. So I want to quickly say, and then I'm going to ask two questions. I want to talk about our friendship, because my friendship with Robin is relational resonance writ large. So I read her book, Yinyang, which is brilliant. It makes us, I'm a social scientist, it makes social scientists look bad. You got to start from a new place in the social sciences. Yinyang is a beautiful place to start. The hard and the soft work together. I read her book. I fell in love with her book. I said, I got to meet this woman. I just got to meet her. I lived up in Berkeley at the time. And so I emailed her, and I said, hi, I want to meet you. I want to come down to where you live in LA, and I want to meet you. I want to talk to you about your book. She said, what? You just want to come? So I flew down to LA just to meet her, sat for 6 hours, and we just talked about ideas, about sharing ideas. that was pure joy. That was pure joy. And how that relational resonance came from, it was the sharing of ideas. It was the work of, this is my point that I'm going to push her on. It's the work of joy, which is the curiosity, the mutual curiosity about how you think and feel about something, and then the other person asking you how they think and feel about something, and you sharing and you coming to new knowledge together. Right, constructing new knowledge together. And to me, the work of relational resonance doesn't happen passively. It happens actually actively using your, I hate to say it, but metacognitive and feeling skills to create that resonance, and then it also creates a presence. So what I want to ask you, and then I'll do the antisocial version of the question too, so you can answer both at the same time, is I think sometimes we think of joy, even as a flow, as a sort of passive process. Even though she said it's active, I think sometimes when we think about flow, we think sort of passive, something just flows and you just watch it and it flows and it feels good. I want to really engage with the idea, actually, to feel relational resonance, it takes work, it's work to do. It's actually active, a listening that's working, it's exhausting, because you have to follow their logic, how they're talking, you have to resonate with what they're saying, and then you have to bring in your own perspective. So I want to think about that, the flow being actually a process of work that lies with curiosity. So that's the first question. Second question, it's very hard to flow in an antisocial culture. So an antisocial culture I define as the me culture. It's all about me, it's all about me, it's all about me. That's inherently antisocial. Right, so we're living in an anti-social culture which puts people on a hierarchy of humanness, puts the hard over the soft. I mean, all these crappy stuff we do to each other. That's the culture in which we live. And so to have flow within a culture that literally teaches you, this is the thing we don't say enough, it teaches you to disconnect. It's not just that it doesn't help you connect, it actually is giving you messages to disconnect. So it says relationship is about talking about yourself. In most traditional communities around the world, we would understand that connection is not about talking about yourself. It's actually about being interested in the other person and learning from them and then learning from you. So the idea is we learn messages in antisocial that actually anti-flow. So those two questions about the role of sort of work in this, and then the response of how you build flow, relational resonance within an antisocial culture.
Okay. For short, first I give short answer. Being like a Dao. So the Zhuangzi have talked about fish in the water, just like humans in the Dao. Okay, so then what is the Dao, right? So I do want to answer your question in your two questions by quoting a Daoist, a Dao De Jing's text, and it's 5,000 characters. Many people probably somehow here, there, to pick it up. It's a classical text. If you want to know something, it's like ancient wisdom, maybe that's the book you pick up. Then there's also saying this book is most translated book next to a Bible. So whenever they want to, think about it. But let's look at, answer your question. I would like to point 3 point. This is in the Dao De Jing, chapter 67. This is a very good way to thinking about your question, but curiosity, effort, and antisocial, social and antisocial. So for Dao De Jing, talk about, I have 3 treasures. If you want to know about the Dao, 3 things about the Dao. So 1, compassion. Right, so when you be in a relationship with someone, you just even strangers, as Niobe just talk about how we met, it's totally accidental. And she wrote to me, I said, okay, fine, that sounds good. It's close to Christmas too. You remember December, so I'm kind of free. I said, okay, let's sit, and then we talk. Since then, friendship grew, and it's because her and got me here too. So, but we think about this compassion. We care about not the human beings. Of course, the Dao is compassion to the nature, to animals, to trees, to mountains, everything. But here we will see, first one is compassion. Compassion is in one simple way, we see care. We care about you, so I like to open up to connecting with you. Secondly, it's a simplicity. This is one of a very important Daoist treasure, simplicity. What is that simplicity then? Because social media make our life so complicated, right? When and also social standards, right? What is called beauty. Girls have to have certain legs, certain nose, certain skin, whatever that will be. Or how many follows you have. Like my daughter would say, oh, we posted something, how many? It was, why you care? Who cares, right? But no, they can. It's, no, how many of you? Well, how many you need, right? So that kind of your self-values being defined by that external forces, which you have no control. So when we see the very complicated, like accomplished person, we often freeze by it. So I met, movie stars, politicians, all this you mentioned, all religious, political leaders. But then when I talk to them, I don't feel I'm scared. Or I just simply said, hey, simple. This person is a human. And this is what also by no. You look at her, CVs. I didn't check her CV at all when we meet. And I said, oh, this is a scary CVs. Because this long, she has all right institutions, NYU, Harvard, and this, that, the books, everything. But when we connecting, I said, well, you're just a human. I don't really care whether someone don't like my idea or not. It doesn't matter. I have flow. Right? So, but we naturally connected. So simplicity is one important element when we're dealing with human interactions. Of course, there is a lifestyle simplicity as well, but that's another issue. So third treasure is humility. What is that humility? Is you recognize your knowledge, your view has limitations. You have a blind spot. And then you want, this is come to your curiosity, right? You want to think about, well, could I learn from something? Yesterday I see Ellen, then she told me she's 81. I said, I'm so excited. What is your longevity? The secret, the longevity, why you're so energetic and it's so well. So when we started talking, that we are connecting because I'm curious about it. I wonder about it because I think my view always open to challenges and will, critique. By the way, I don't think a challenge is right or wrong issues. A challenge is open your, or critique even. What means critique? Critique is being present alternative thinking, to allow you to think in another way, to allow you to think about otherwise. So this thing, I was thinking, this is probably can to, in some ways, to answer your question of curiosity about antisocial. I do know, I work with my students, they always thinking they're being taught, working hard, you can realize American dream, you will be on the top of mountain, top of the world. I said, well, okay, good luck. So it is illusion, or it's wishful thinking, or you see, is that the world is what you work as much as you can hard, and then your destination will be, accomplished, or your goal will be accomplished. It's not that simple, right? So we will think we need others to help us. So think about how much our family, how your friends, all this. I do have intellectual partners. Every time I got a new idea, I call up my friend. I say, hey, I have this, what do you think? Right, same thing. They do same thing to me. We need this community, connected here. So this connectivity is in a much simple level. It's not just passing cars, but beyond that. So I think this intellectual connection and to fully recognize you are not isolated individual, well, we're seeing not isolated a entity. You are not the peach but the red onion, because you lived with multiple relationship which allow you come to emerge to this world. So you belong to this world, and then you also should be going back to this world. Okay, maybe I'm too long.
No, you're good. Robin, I think we want to flow with the audience, but before we do, I would love to introduce flow theory. For those of you who might not know about it, it was originated by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who is a Hungarian psychologist, and he studied athletes and artists, and this flow state that they would arrive in through full immersion in their activity of choice. And the byproduct of flow state is elevation, right? We are in an emotionally elevated state, but we might not realize that we are experiencing joy or happiness or contentment when we're in it. It's only in the recalling of it at a later date that we realize that we were actually in joy in that flow state. So with that, I would love to open up the floor to flow with the audience and who have questions of.
Could we gather 3 questions at a time so that
we're going to gather. What a great idea!
So then I will answer. Yeah.
3 questions at a time.
I want to hear as many questions as possible. Oh, 2. Okay.
All right. So we have one here, and then we've got one in the way back. And then at the far closest to the curtain. We'll do those 3 first, and then we'll do another round after.
Okay. I don't know. Okay, I guess I'll go first. Thank you so much. I was really interested in your idea of the fact that joy doesn't sort of simply exist within 2 people, but it's in this sort of like current between them in this flow. But I'm sort of interested, is that only sort of the case when 2 people are sort of, there's sort of a sense of affinity or agreement or mutual respect? Like, can that joy exist in that current if 2 people are in extreme disagreement or extreme dislike with one another?
Do you want to pick one, or should I just take you? Okay, actually, it's really interesting. I think if bottom line, what is the baseline to human interaction? Maybe respect, right? So we will think about actually, Zhuangzi and Hui Shi is disagreement in every point. So Hui Shi is just completely different than Zhuangzi, but they become a friend. So I do thinking, but what bonded them together, it's not because they agree with every issues, but rather disagreement. But I think there is a difference between disagreement and then hostile, judging. Right? So they do not have that because they do genuinely want to learn from each other to clarify their view. That means both has a critical view towards each other, yet they mutually bond together. So I think that this is the best result. What this can make happen, I would think is Chinese word is role, it's the subtleness. So maybe in the West we will think about the respect, because the respect and bring us together.
I just want to add one concept to what she just said, which is a sense of wonder. So, and wonder is respect. Right? If you look at someone with a wonder, so if they disagree with you, which by the way, when we met for 6 hours, we disagreed about a bunch of things. But if you're disagreeing with a sense of wonder, why do they believe that? But not from a judgy, but from an openness, which she talks a lot about, then it becomes really deeply resonant. And then I can also disagree. And the other thing we have a false assumption is that we have to be similar. We come from radically different backgrounds, radically different, where our histories are very, very different. But the difference actually, we had more to learn from each other. So it actually created a beautiful resonance in the difference, not just in the commonality. And that's another message we get. We have to be common with, we have to share something to connect. I would actually say the opposite, right? We have to actually appreciate each other's differences, right, with openness, even if it's a disagreement, right? Even if it's a disagreement.
I think of humanity, and also, you don't take everything so serious. I go in the gym, first time I go to this gym, and then the lady said, "Oh, you own the Chinese restaurant." So I said, "Wow, you really think, you look at me, you think about Chinese food, huh?" So it's good. He said, "Oh yeah," then he found out, "Oh, oh, you're a professor, oh, impressed. I said, no, nothing. Still Chinese, Kung Pao chicken is better, okay? So, and then I also go into the huge, like, Vatican meetings or whatever, and then there's guys, good morning, come up, there's a good morning, China. I said, wow, I have this much power? I represent China? It's okay. They come from a good place. They want me, so I don't feel offended. That is something, don't take yourself too serious. Play. That's what I think. That's a Dao.
In the back, we have the gentleman in the far rear. Yes.
Oh, me? I have a mic.
Okay.
Hi, thank you so much for this presentation. When you were talking about relational resonance, I was thinking about empathy, and I wonder how they're different. So if empathy differs from relational resonance and some of the terms that you brought up, or are they really similar, and how do they work in tandem? That's the first part. And the second part is, how do we encourage people to have more empathy or have more relational resonance? I'm a counselor by trade, so that's kind of where my brain is in thinking of how I can help other people gain those things.
Okay, first of all, I actually write something about it because in the Duke University asked me to do, they have it called the Harmony Lab, and then do interpersonal harmony. One of the things is empathy. I think empathy is very important. You're feeling with others, right? You're feeling with others. You put yourself in others' shoe. I think that's important. But I do think this a Daoist view, or the Zhuangzi's view, I call it this tone. It's much higher. You translate, it's a shared feeling. We are in the same wavelengths. We vibrate together. I'm not just give you my sympathy to you. I care about, I think, oh, how poor you are. I'm so sorry. But at the same time, you think, no, you actually taught me something, because something is missing in my life, and I'm shared that feeling with you. So that is, I think, one thing. Now, the question is, how do you cultivate that, right? It's very hard. It's not a conceptual, okay? It's not just, oh, you understand it, you put your understanding into action. That is illusion. This is not going to happen. One of the things that you have to come, well, number one, have a good sleep. So during your exercise, and then to be yourself has to be strong. And then you will be filled, you have different senses about the world. You have ability, you're actually capable to connecting with others. If yourself sick and yourself feel miserable, how you can share your energy with others? You only the takers, you're not a giver. Okay. So in order to be a good relational resonance, you have self to be strong. My daughter summarized, there's a Mama Wang's 4 principles. Eat well, exercise, have a good sleep, and do well in school. They said, what about my happiness? Well, if you do all this, you will be happy.
Okay, so I want to push you. I want to push back on that. Is this on? Is this okay? Can you hear me?
I can.
It's okay? Yeah. Okay. So my students at NYU hate empathy, and I'll tell you why they hate empathy. Because it's turned into a corporate term. But this is why they hate empathy, because people say when they look upset, or they say something like, I broke up with my boyfriend, people will say, oh, I'm so sorry, without asking the question, why are you so upset? Or what was that like for you? So rather than, empathy assumes we can know your feelings without asking you. And what they're saying, they've been saying this to me for years. Ask the effing question. What was that like? You don't assume that a breakup is a bad thing. Maybe the breakup made you the happiest it's ever been, that you actually finally left that relationship. So the idea is empathy assumes you can assume a feeling, and that's even how we teach it in schools and SEL programs, that somehow you should feel someone else's feelings. Ask the question. Curiosity is agency. You can actually form the connection in addition to sleeping and resting and taking care of yourself, asking a question. It's incredible how much we've lost that 5-year-old capacity to ask a question about what you think and feel, and then don't assume. And we're always doing that assuming. So I just want to know, for you, actually, it's a really genuine question for you. I'm curious about where curiosity plays out in the Tao. You know, that sense of that wanting to know what I don't know.
Oh, Zhuangzi is totally a wonder man. That started with A, the W-A-N-D-E-R. The first chapter is about he just wandered in the world. What motivated him is because of the curiosity. Curiosity is the primary drive of human life. Oh, probably I will see a joy and happiness. It's not the possessions. It's not something material, but something more, and which is curiosity.
We have one more question from this round, but before we go there, I wanted to offer up one more concept that sort of is a cousin to empathy, and that is intellectual humility. And I think that is trying to broaden our scope of how we think and how we approach people, especially those who are different from ourselves or hold different views. Can we be wrong? Is it okay to be wrong? And that's, I think, ties into wonder and curiosity. Yeah, the humility. Did you get the mic finally? Yes.
Yeah, I
go.
This ties into your the wanderings of Chuangzi, and I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to this idea of escape and seclusion. And I think famously not taking governmental positions in his case, and kind of the balance between connection as this current and engaging in that, and also withdrawing and escaping the tangle of the chaos of society, et cetera, in his case. And that this kind of sense that the over-engagement can lead to exhaustion, and this hyper-seeking can be too much, and kind of how he speaks of the balance of those.
Yeah, I think this question is legit because it's so Taoism come to West, it's through a New Age movement. They're looking for something, right? So they colored with a undesirable, incorrect understanding of Tao. So that's the first thing. So you talk about, you usually think about, Tao, Zhuangzi, they just hiding in the mountains and then doing nothing escape. But actually, if you really look at the Zhuangzi, it's very interesting. I use the idea is, so there is a person, and he is going to be signed a job, become a tutor of a prince. Okay, but the prince is a very dangerous person. So this person facing a dilemma. So he said, okay, if I do not stand up to him, and my state will in danger. But if I stand up against him, and my life will be killed, I will be killed, and my life is in danger. What should I do? And the Zhuang said, okay, here is the things you. First of all, let's look at the mantis. Those small summer insects called the mantis. Mantis try to stop the car. That is fatal. It's noble, the fatal, you'll be crashed. Then secondly, we're thinking about training tigers. Okay, think about how you're training tigers. Then you feel you're constantly in danger, but then you're still doing it. Right? You still train the tiger. Thirdly, you train the horse. You need to understand the temperament of a horse, and you correctly guide it. So this is his solution to political problems. It's not because I actually wrote a paper called this Zhuangzi's view about justice, about the justice. So it is promote justice, but the way doing differently. So that I also call is like proximity. So training your lovely horses, you have your goal, your mentality, your emotion state, weather, terrain, and horse temperament. So how do you integrate all these elements into the one. In different time and different place, results are different. So this is called critical engagement. So you need to critically engage a political movement or any kind of difficult situations, but it is not one bill filled all. It's not one type, okay, here's the contents, categorical imperative, so then you will apply to everything. No, that's not how complicated world we do. So this whole idea is, first of all, it's a claim on uncertainty is the beginning part. It's a part of our life. Facing, right with it, and enjoy it. That's so all these theories, for example, I write about Yinyang theory, is to how to navigating uncertainty. It's not denying it, but rather embrace it and rise from it.
We have time for probably one more question, possibly two. Let's see, the front row here and the woman here on the left. Yeah.
So earlier you were, oh, wow, that's loud. Okay, so earlier you were talking about how kind of joy exists, and I'm not going to use the same words you used because my memory isn't good, but in like almost like an ether between two people. It's like how there's like the frequency and it like creates joy. And you were talking like about how can like earlier there was the great question about can like dislike cause that same disagreement cause that same emotion. So my question for you is joy the only emotion that can come out of that shared frequency? Can there be dislike, disdain, even hatred at times? And in how and like taking it a step further, can those emotions in that same frequency grow and change into different emotions and into different kind of relationships between people?
Okay, thank you. That's a very good question. It's profoundly talk about we human beings have multiple, all kind of joys. Actually, Zhuangzi point number 7. Okay, so including happiness, joy, sadness, all that. But the joy is motivational forces. For Zhuangzi, yes, you could you can to experience joy. Now, maybe I give you this one important distinction. So what's the difference between Daoism and Buddhism? They seems like they shared many similar metaphysical, ontological, existential, ethical, grounds. But the difference, Buddhism, you all know the suffering is a part of the human life, right? So you want to enlighten. What is the Tao? Joy. So life is complicated, difficult, hard thing, but life is still joyful. So now question is how you transform the sadness and the problem into this joy. Now, here is the example. So Zhuangzi's wife is died, and then the friend come to offer the condolence. And then he's there bumping, play the music, all that. And the friend is shocked, said, how ungrateful you are. The wife take care of you, and then to raise the children. How could you feel the joy? He said, look, before my wife's birth, the world exists, heaven and earth exist. And now my wife died, he returned to this heaven and earth. What I said about, she come to a better place. So it's not heaven in the religious teaching, but what Zhuangzi able to do is to able to getting this type of sadness and turn into embrace it and turn into positive energy. That's its channeling, right? Directions. So this is directing your energy, your emotional energy into something. Of course, everybody feels sad, but the Zhuangzi, the Taoism, has the way. Like, why your emotion upset? Because there is not. There is something blocked it. So then need you, your mind, your understanding, your body, everything else, unlock this obstacles or a blockage, then you will still feel joy, no matter at what the circumstances. So this is, I think, Daoist way dealing with this world. So then you can see the joy is not just emotion state. It's not a pleasure. Probably it's not a happiness as well. So it's just joy I will think it's a human condition where depends on how you making it. So probably something, yeah, it's a capacity as well.
One more question, because we're out of time.
Okay.
So your comments made me, especially about flow and current and birds and fish, it reminded me of the Greek philosopher saying, no man can step into the same river twice.
Heraclitus, yes.
And so I wondered if you could comment on how Taoism is, of course, the Western thought is very individualistic, and it seems that Taoist thought is very relational. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe you could comment on how this focus on the individual, maybe in Taoism is different, but how you could relate that thought to Taoism.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes. So I think, Tao is talk about think about the Tao Te Ching. Don't think the world is created by Tao. Tao didn't create anything. Tao gave birth to things. So things is constantly becoming. When things becoming need a certain kind of soil, need elements to make up becoming possible. So in other words, human beings, you are on the journey, you constantly becoming. So on the road of the becoming, there is lots of elements to it. So therefore, you nourishing, you harnessing this kind of elements, you pay attention to this. So that is being connected to the world. I actually like to talk about this planetary thinking. If you know this idea we call the new sphere, the world is our soul cover, but the Tao think about it's hard, it's a Xin sphere. The Xin is, in Chinese, the thinking is heart and mind together. It's called the Xin thinking. So you're not separate of them. So this is not, it's aware. You're aware you are in multiple relational. You are in the relationship. And you can deny and walk away, but the relationship exists. So that make you actually better to become the best of you if you can well connect with the world.
Thank you, Robing Wang, Niobe Wei.